and welcome to How Do You Like Your Coffee? I'm your host, Chris. Now we're on to paying for college. So you got your list of potential schools. You figured out which ones might be taking your program of study. You figured out whether you want traditional or online. Maybe you got a few there in mind and you're wondering. Now it's time to look at the cost and how we are going to pay for our education. First thing to keep in mind, most schools, and this is why it's so important to look at requirements. When you think of the cost, look at the requirements of graduating, because most schools, before you can graduate, you have to have a zero balance. Otherwise, you're not graduating. So that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about paying for school and how you're going to pay for it, and making sure you have enough money. Okay, so now you're thinking about how you're going to pay. Now, some of you who are continuing your careers might have an employer that's willing to, as long as you're going to stay within that career, and you just want to advance in that career. Most employers will help you. Well, I'm not going to say most employers. Check with your employer, because sometimes they will cover the cost of continuing your education so that you can advance, which is a good thing. Maybe some of you have savings. Maybe you're only going to pay for one or two courses. Now, then there is something to keep in mind. Okay, I have savings. Can I cover all of the costs or some of the costs? What am I going for? Am I going for the certificate, the bachelor's, the associates, the master's? First thing to know is if you and you figure you cannot pay and you're going to need some financial aid, know that if you're going for your master's, you have to at least go for your bachelor's first, and then you can move on with trying to get your master's degree. But the first thing financial aid is going to look at is your program of study. They're going to look at what you are going for, because most of the time, I don't think, and I'm going to leave a link in the description below to studentaid.gov. They'll answer all of your questions that you have with financial aid. I mean, the whole thing is there. There's links to everything on that site, and it's a big help. It was a big help to me. But with financial aid, okay, let's go back to that. Okay. You are going to probably want to check the requirements for covering the cost, because there's a few things you're going to need to come up with. You're going to have to prove that you are going to need help with paying for college first. You're also going to have to have your GED or high school diploma. If you do not, there's some schools out there that will help you get into a program. I think they said 6 credits or something like that, but you cannot receive financial aid to earn those 6 credits. In order to receive financial aid, you have to have some sort of diploma, the GED or the high school diploma, or maybe you have a college diploma and you're just adding to it, but still, that's one of their requirements. Another basic requirement. You know what? Just click on the link in the description below and you'll get it that way. That will explain everything to you. Let me see. I know I wrote notes down and I don't follow anything that I write down. I just kind of pop into it. Okay. There are also different types of aid. There's the grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. Work study is usually when you is on site at the school that you will be going to if you decide to go to a traditional brick and mortar school. Most of the time you're not going to be able to get a work study on an online school. I mean, it's a possibility. You'd have to check it out. Yeah, I have yet to run into one that does do that. Now, grants and scholarships are usually do not have to pay them back unless something happens where you drop out of school a little bit early and you have already received leftover refund from your loans and grants, and sometimes you have to pay that back. But all in all, most of the time you're going to stay in school. You do not have to pay those the grants back or the scholarships. Now, there are many types of scholarships. There are scholarships the school has, and there's personal private scholarships. There's a list of scholarships on the financial aid site. You really have to do a lot of research with scholarships. Now, I, for one, my scholarships came from school. Now, I have filled out other scholarships and did not get them because it's sort of a first come, first served type of thing. They run out really quickly, so you got to really get in there to get them. Now, there's also, now before I get into any more of this, I'm going to tell you this much. You're going to need help paying for college, and you want help from financial aid. You know the requirements you need to get into getting financial aid. The best thing to do is get right on the FAFSA, which you can click on a link, or in the description below it says FAFSA. That's free application to federal aid for students, I believe it is. That, or you can click on the link right off of the student aid site because it's in a big link of its own. It's a free financial aid application. Whether you're eligible or not, it's probably a good thing to fill that out first thing you can. This is time sensitive. You have to get that really out there because if you don't, you might miss out on it and you might have to wait even longer. Now, when you fill out the FAFSA form, you're going to need some codes from the schools. Now, they allow you to put more than one code on there for sure. I'm not sure if there's a limit. I've only put up the 2 on there. But there's a place they have you put your school code on there. That way they know what school to send the aid to. Now, the aid is not going to be available to you until, first of all, you're eligible. Second of all, once you're registered for a school, but at least you have your financial aid form filled out, and they will get right back to you not too long afterwards and let you know whether you're eligible or not, which is good. There's also some states have their own financial aid as well, like their own grants. Like New York State has the TAP grant, federal aid has the Pell Grant, and I think there's a few others. You really have to check it out, but check into your state aid as well, because then your school has a separate code for that. You have to go in and fill out separately. Most of the time you have to fill out separately for your state aid. You'd have to check that out with your school and see what you need for that. Let's see, what else is there with financial aid that you should know? Oh, you know what? Forget the note. You want to know about financial aid with your school, call their financial aid office. They are right there to help you. I know that with some schools, it's very hard to get through on their systems when you have questions. Sometimes you're on hold for a good 45 minutes. But most of the time you can get your answers right off of the studentaid.gov site that I have down in the link in the description below. If this is the first time you're seeing this video of this, let me start over. if this is the first video of the series that you're seeing, check out in the card, because the first three, the intro, the first two, the intro and starting your research on beginning to find out what you want to do with, you know, your program of study and you know, making a list of schools. That'll be in the info card there. In the description below, you are going to find some links. It's going to be the checklist, like in the last video, your financial aid information, and the free financial aid form, if you want to just skip right to that. I think there's a few other things in there as well. And to give you a head start, there's also a question and answer thing, something that explains the difference between a regionally accredited and a nationally accredited school. And I know I keep mentioning this and I don't explain it, but in the next video I will explain it a little bit further. But you might find it a little bit important after you figure out, you know, the difference between the two. This is a very short video, so like I said, you're welcome to leave comments and questions below. Click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so you know the next time I will be uploading. And until the next time, keep the coffee hot and the pinkies up. I'll be seeing you.